Today we're gonna delve into this clay animation masterpiece, accompanied with this porcelain-made nightmare. I mean, Leroy's my son, and it's my weekend with him, so I'm stuck with him for the time being, so you know how it goes. As dark and dreary as Opal looks from the outside, it gets so much darker and drearier the more you dig into it. The longer you watch, the more you get engulfed. Also, why is Leroy squaring up in the back? He's just throwing a tantrum because he wants to be at his dad's this weekend. Well, trust me, I want you there too. While Opal is a short film on YouTube, it packs one hell of a punch, okay? And I've seen this video about, 20 times in the past year, and each time I learn something new, and each time it digs a little piece out of my heart. After a brief musical sequence showing beer cans and cigarettes and pills, the film opens with a little white house with a little clay animation, kinda creepy, little girl named Opal. It's her and her happy family gathered around the table where on a plate there sits a burger in front of Opal. And her family members, consisting of her mom, dad, and grandpa, are all giving her encouraging remarks and saying, pretty much, eat up, Opal, eat your burger. But instead of eating it, she breaks out into an iconic dance number, as you do. I mean, that's what a good burger makes you want to do, right? But what breaks up her little dance sequence is that she looks out the window at the creepy, ugly, haunted-looking, forsaken, abandoned-looking house across the street. And it steals her attention away from her family setting until her dad comes over and shuts the curtains and breaks into a mini musical number of don't mind the house across the street, and don't even pay attention to it, forget it's there, focus on us. After a few more encouraging words and love and support for Opal, the family puts her into bed and tucks her in for the night. But apparently, Opal cannot get the house across the street out of her mind, so she sneaks out of bed, sneaks out of the house, and through the top window of the house, the attic window of that creepy house, there comes this flowing, ebbing light and lace, and this melancholy, forlorn type of singing or mourning sound. So she sneaks out of bed, sneaks out of the house, and tiptoes her way across the street to the creepy, eerie, desolate house. Just as she reaches the doorstep of the creepy house, a blinding light flashes behind her and scares her to open the door and run into the house for cover. So now she's in this creepy nightmare house that she's glimpsed from across the street and she's been warned to stay away from. And the first thing she witnesses in this house is that in the TV room, the front living room, there's an older man with little black glasses on, glued to the TV, honed into the TV. Except since the floor of the house is dirty and covered in food wrappers, Opal steps on one, crunches it, and then garners the old man's attention. And the first thing he says is, "Claire, is that you? Give me my cigarettes." Apparently he is blind and just sits in front of the TV listening to it, and I guess demanding that Claire gets him stuff while smoking his cigarettes. And this man obviously does not need another cigarette as he's coughing and sputtering and coughing up blood. But he is insistent that who he thinks to be Claire find him his cigarettes and give him one. And he spews other words of profound wisdom such as,
"No, it's evil to help people who don't need help, Claire."
But then he breaks out into an absolute banger of a musical number, the best one in the whole short film, might I add, my favorite, about, since he's blind, why does it sound so easy to breathe on TV, and pretty much about how he enjoys the escapism of listening to the TV and kind of putting himself in that world without even seeing it. And it truly is a bop. I've listened to it, unironically, just on my free time. It's that good. But after his absolute bop comes to a close, he insists that Claire smells weird, and he's like, "Wait, you're not Claire." I mean, because she entered the house as Opal. "You're not Claire." And then he gets all enraged, and in his rage, he fumbles out of his chair, falls on the ground, and his glasses fall off, revealing his creepy blind eyes. And even then, he's still trying to get her. So understandably, Opal sprints away upstairs to get away from him, and once she's scrambled up the stairs and is on the first floor, she catches another glimpse of that light further into the house. That flowy, almost spectral light with that sad, mournful song or music, that singing. Except then her attention is snapped away to the open door to her left. And also, why do me and Opal kind of have the same side profile? Where she comes across another person in the house, a presumably middle-aged man, but he's sitting behind an array of little circular mirrors. And he's like, "Claire, is that you? Come in, come talk to me." And he's in what appears to be a bathroom, except he's got a little seat set up in there, and again, behind that array of mirrors. So he doesn't see Opal's face, and she can't see his. But he does not care that he cannot see her face, because all he cares about is that he sees his, and from every angle. He obviously comes across as very vain and image-obsessed, but he's also very self-analytical and seemingly self-conscious, and he's a very uptight and anxious and fidgety, self-conscious person. Still hidden behind his array of mirrors, he too breaks out into a musical number. Again, another bop. Except his song is more so about being unseen, unappreciated, and having to live behind a veneer of self-perfection. And how he wants to be perfect and how he wants the whole world to see him as perfect. And the whole time Opal's just standing in the doorway, taking this all in, I guess. But he's so self-absorbed and image-obsessed and taking in all his angles all the time that he barely notices who he thinks to be Claire and is barely talking to her. When he is, it's about himself. And then right as his musical number comes to an end, the creepy old blind grandpa guy is finally made his way up the stairs and is approaching Opal again, and then again, very understandably, she takes off, much to the mirror guy's chagrin, but she takes off and then runs into another room, closes the door behind her, and just hopes that those two loons, especially the creepy grandpa who's trying to get her, stay the hell away. This new room she's taken refuge in, it's dark and dreary and the drapes are pulled across the window, and things are just dilapidated and the furniture's broken and there's like trash and beer bottles everywhere, but for the most part, it seems that she's alone in here. Keyword seems. Because not even a moment later, her ankle is grabbed by someone who's laying on the floor. And it's a middle-aged woman, presumably the wife of the self-obsessed mirror guy in the bathroom. And given that this woman is clearly intoxicated, she's got this blurry double vision, and she can barely see Opal, so she calls her Claire. And she's like, "Oh, Claire, you decided to be a person today, huh?" And then the woman goes into a kind of drunken spiel about how much of a martyr she is and a victim at the same time, and no one appreciates her and she needs more support, and that Claire needs to do better in being supportive and grateful for all this amazing saintly woman does. And then this woman goes into her own musical number, which is shorter than the rest, about how she needs her little girl to fall back on and to rely on and to support her and help her. And pretty much how she needs Claire to start being her emotional rock. And toward the close of her musical number, there's a montage of this woman being abusive and drunkenly abusive to the husband, which is the mirror man from earlier, and then her behind bars and being all drunken and violent and unruly, and pretty much just beating up the dad. Shortly thereafter, Opal breaks free from the woman, who's had her hand around Opal's ankle the whole time. She breaks free, slams the door behind her, and then runs up another flight of stairs, which leads to the attic area. And keep in mind, at the beginning of the film, when she was in her nice functional family in her clean, orderly house at the beginning, when she looked out the window at the dark, dank, dilapidated, horrible house, she saw that light and heard that music coming from the very top window, so the attic window. And once she scrambled her way up this other flight of stairs, she realizes she's reached that room finally. The room where she witnessed that phenomenon. So she goes into this attic room, slams the door behind her, because at this point, all three of the needy, dysfunctional people are following her and making demands like, Claire, come back, this and this and this, like, I need you, this and this. All of them trying to burden her with their emotional issues and their demands, and they need her attention for things, they need her help. So once she's safe in this new attic room and has put a chair up under the door to block it, she slowly makes her way toward the window, which is the one she was been looking for. And this attic room is just as dark and dank and dusty and gross as the rest of the house, and there's like pretty much only furniture in there is like a little bed. But upon finally approaching this long-awaited window, she gets up to the sill and looks out, and where she expects to see her cute, normal-looking, clean, functional house across the street is instead a billboard advertising for Opal's Burgers. And in the advertisement on the billboard, under 4 stadium kind of show lights, is a happy-looking family of a mom, a dad, and a grandpa, all surrounded around this little girl holding a burger. Opal's Burgers. And this is where Opal realizes that she's not Opal after all, and that this sweet, functional, happy family that she's associated herself with does not exist outside the advertisement on the billboard. She's obviously very shocked and subsequently pulled from her happy delusion, the one that she loses herself into, her escapism, and the reality stands that that happy, perfect family from the beginning only exists in her mind, from the images she's pulled from the billboard, and that her true family, her real family, is the family she just experienced in this creepy, dilapidated, horrible house that she's always feared when she's been with her happy family. So she's pulled back to the horrible reality, the horrible, dismal, miserable reality that she is in fact Claire, and that this disgusting, dilapidated house is hers, and the disgusted, dilapidated, dysfunctional family therein is also hers. And this said dilapidated, dysfunctional family of hers, the grandpa, the mom, and the dad, are still outside her attic door pounding to be let in, or pounding because they need Claire, they need her to do something for them, Claire, we need you, doesn't this open up? But inside, Claire's just crumpled down by the window, obliterated by this horrible reality that she's being rewoken to. So she has her hands balled up, probably to drown out their knocking and their thudding and their demands, and her eyes closed, except when she opens her eyes, she's once again with that happy, functional, supportive, loving family in that pretty-looking house, in that pretty-looking setting and environment, and she's back in her escapism. She's back with her perfect, fictional, happy family. And then the 3 happy versions of her family members all come before Opal, or Opal, and then they all sing in unison, "We see you, Opal, your troubles are miles away. We see you, Opal, and in our eyes you'll stay." And then the film closes with the actual Opal, or Claire, still in that horrible dusty attic room, with her 3 horrible family members still pounding on the door for her attention, and she's just crouched by the window hating her life and hating the fact that her reality is not what she dreamt it up to be. And this short film is such a masterpiece in exploring childhood abuse or childhood trauma, especially childhood neglect. It does it so well and so subtly that the ending is kind of like whiplash. There are a few hints throughout that you can pick up on, especially if you rewatch it, such as whenever Opal is with her happy, perfect family that she thinks is real in the beginning. Whenever she's with her good, unfortunately fictional family, you'll see 4 lights in each of her eyes, which are the 4 lights above the billboard that she's currently staring at, but not realizing she's just staring at it and not actually with her family. So you'll see those 4 lights in her eyes whenever she's around her happy family, because that's the equivalent of her being stuck up in the attic room in that nasty house, staring out the window at the billboard and dreaming she's a part of that family. So she got the light reflection in her eyes. You'll also see those same lights above her good family, her perfect family. I think it's so sad because Opal is so unseen and neglected. I mean, look at her hair, first off. And with her hair, it's even sadder because she's tried to model her hair after the little girl on the Opal's Burgers advertisement billboard. Like, she just wants to be her so badly. And Opal, who is, actually Claire, because there's no Opal. So Claire is a severely neglected child who has to deal with all her family's issues and then putting all those issues on her. She's kind of the scapegoat of the family and all their problems. And they depend and rely on her for everything and anything. She just can't be a normal child with a normal, functional, happy life because she's too busy holding up the weight of her entire mess of a family. And she feels so unseen in her life, and especially by her family. That's why whenever she's with her good family, her fictional family, they're always noticing her, she's the center of attention, and they're all saying positive, acknowledging things about her. And her fictional family just makes her feel so seen and loved, which is what she's lacking so severely in her actual realistic life. Another little hint that I noticed was that the first time we see the fictional perfect dad, he's doing the exact same expression and face as the picture on the billboard. And at the end, the fictional family says, or sings, "We see you, Opal, and in our eyes, you'll stay." And I took that to potentially mean that since the billboard's across from her house, she'll always be in their eyes. Like, she'll always be under their stare because she'll never get to leave that horrible place. Which is kind of depressing and sad, and maybe I'm just being overly depressive about it. I don't know. But what I do know is that Opal by Jack Stauber is very profound, very poignant, and hits right in the heart. Hits right in the heart.